About a month or so ago, when the new CSOs were being vetted and of course now being ushered into office, the tough-talking former Kiambu County Governor William Kabogo said that he is going to regulate social media. Just how practical is it? What effect will this have on freedom of speech, and how will that affect you and I who are using social media on a daily basis? Hello there and welcome to Africa's biggest tech conversation, TECHOVER on NTV. I am Brian Jojotieno. NTV's in-house techie. We have a lot lined up for you. Our topic of the day is this: regulating social media. Just how practical is it? Melinda Kira is here with me for that. But first off, as always, the tech news of the week. American technology company IBM has ended its operations in Nigeria, Ghana, and other key African markets, transferring its regional functions to MIBB, a subsidiary of Midis Group, a multinational IT and telecommunications conglomerate operating across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. This move comes as part of a new operating model that IBM will implement in select African countries effective the 1st of April 2025. MIBB will market and sell IBM's products and services across 36 African countries, giving MIBB sales networks direct access to IBM software, hardware, cloud, and consulting offerings. The partnership is expected to boost innovation and growth in the region, with MIBB taking over the responsibility of IBM's operations, support, and local customer relationships. Having operated in Nigeria and Africa for over 50 years, IBM was integral to technology landscape, providing infrastructure and consulting services to critical industries such as banking, telecommunications, oil and gas, and government. Beyond the challenges in Africa, IBM has faced financial difficulties globally. In 2024, the company reported a 2% decline in consulting revenue to $5.18 billion, while infrastructure sales dropped by 8%. Despite these setbacks, IBM reported a 1% overall revenue increase, reaching $17.55 billion, driven by a 10% growth in software sales, which climbed to $7.92 billion. IBM also posted a net income of $2.92 billion in the fourth quarter and expects at least 5% revenue growth in 2025, bolstered by projected free cash flow of $13.5 billion. Although IBM's departure from Africa marks its end of its direct operations in the region, the long-term impact on local business and government partnerships remains uncertain. While the transition to MIBB may offer new opportunities for innovation and support, it also presents challenges for businesses that have relied on IBM's products and services. The full effect of this shift will likely unfold over the coming months as the African tech ecosystem adjusts to the new operational model. Very well, you are now up to speed with what's been happening in the world of tech. Time now for that conversation on regulating social media and just how practical is it. Melinda, great to have you on the show for the very first time.
Thank you.
The new ICT CS, Honorable William Kabogo, was tough talking in the floor of Parliament, stating that he's going to regulate social media ostensibly to censure all this noise about the government critics, and everything else. What is your overall sense of this before we now unpack the reality or the practicability of this?
Okay, so the first thing I would like to ask is social media regulation necessary? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. And again, is it really practical, you know? Because for things like AI, you might find that regulating AI has proven to be a little bit difficult, even though we have other laws that are in place, for example, the EU law around AI, you know. But again, is social media, can it be actually regulated? And if it's regulated, what are we regulating it, like, on what angle are we regulating it? Is it for to regulate harmful content that is being posted online? Is it also for to promote digital safety? Those are the kind of questions we need to be asking ourselves. If you're regulating social media, we need to ask ourselves those kind of questions, you know. And for CS Kabogo, we also had, like last week, people were now asking, if they're regulating social media, are we going to also have the issue of censorship on social media, you know, shutting down social media? But he went on to say that they are not shutting down any social media, for example, even Facebook and other social media platforms, but they want to kind of regulate so that they combat harmful content that is being posted online and things like that. So we need to ask ourselves, is it to curb the sharp criticism online? Are we trying to limit of how people the difference of opinion online, because we will slowly lose the whole idea around social media regulation, you know? And then is it to silence critics rather than make sure that there is digital safety? You know, that's the question we need to ask ourselves.
Great. You paint a very interesting picture, and when you're speaking, I get the sense of us drawing the line between content moderation, which is one different autonomous concept
On its own, yeah.
on its own. Yes. And then there is regulation in itself. This one now has to do with policies that a jurisdiction has and all that. And we understand that for community guidelines and all those things, social media apps or companies have been regulating or self-regulating or self-moderating in essence. Let's talk about where these platforms are located. Given that these social media platforms are mostly incorporated abroad, just how practical is it to regulate?
It's not like I'm saying at the beginning, it's not like it's a law we are passing in Parliament, yeah. You know? They also have their way of doing things. Like you said, they have their own community guidelines and they have the content moderation strategies that they adopt, yeah. You know? But it depends, you know, at this end, it depends, because even if you look at other countries, for example, with India too, with social media companies, for example, in India, they have a policy where they make sure that they are forcing, or let's say pressuring platforms to comply with their regulations, you know. But sometimes when it comes to following up and consistency in making sure that they comply, there's a lot of inconsistency, you know. There's also countries that are issuing internet shutdowns, you know, internet shutdowns. For example, South Sudan. I think last month, if I'm not wrong, they had called on telecom companies like MTN or Zain to censor, like it's kind of censor or shut down the internet so that the netizens from South Sudan do not access the online platforms, you know. So there's always going to be a lot of critiques of that, because people are saying it's censorship and it's against digital rights, you know. Yeah. So which begs the question of introducing internet shutdowns is very risky. Yeah. You know, there's also that bit of it being risky. But there are also other countries, for example, China, that are always developing their own platforms, for example, WeChat. Yeah. And Weibo, if I'm not wrong, Weibo, that they actually do it. But for Kenya, we cannot say we are on that level of China where we develop our own platforms because of our open internet policies, and then sometimes our reliance on these big tech companies, the social media platforms like TikTok, like Facebook, Meta in general, you know. Yeah, we're dependent on them, or we reliant on them for business and communication. So for Kenya, it might not actually be feasible. Yeah.
Now you've stated examples of countries that have successfully introduced regulation without necessarily shutting down completely. Which are some of these ones that have also, you know, which are some of these countries that have introduced regulations without shutting down completely? Because what we see mostly in Africa is if you see a blogger is not doing or saying what you're supposed to be saying about your government, then you shut it down all through. When they're going to elections across the fence here, we've had issues about the whole internet being shut down. Are there countries that have successfully implemented social media regulation without necessarily shutting down completely?
Yes. For example, we have the EU Digital Services Act that is adopted by all social media platforms, that is a form of, I would say it's like a law that enhances transparency and accountability across all social media platforms. That's a good example, the EU Digital Services Act. Another one is Germany, that they have the Nets, I think it's a Nets DG law that is adopted by social media companies, where they're being told to pull down any illegal information, like let's say, for example, hate speech, misinformation. They pull it down, but they do not censor political speech. It's just a way of them pulling down misinformation, hate speech, and that kind of thing. And also we have Australia's online safety laws. So for the Australian online safety law, they, inafanya social media companies will pull down any information that is violent, any information that is about hate speech, any information that is about cyberbullying or child exploitation material for 24 hours, within the 24-hour period. And even for the German one, the NetzDG law, it says you need to pull it down within the 24-hour time frame, or you face fines. You pay for fines, you know. So with countries like this who are successfully adopted some of their policies, they're not policies to regulate or to limit political speech and whatnot, but it's a way of making sure that the online space is safe for everyone to use.
Best case scenario, you are either in regulation or in parliament, or you are a government official who is on the table to push for regulation or propose policies. How does regulation look like in Melinda's head?
I would say regulation needs to be accountable, regulation needs to be fair, and regulation needs to be transparent. I would say it in these 5 fronts. 1, we need stakeholder engagement. Hatutaki political leaders ndio wamekaa pale peke yake. No. We really don't need that. Government is only sitting there. How is it benefiting us? We need content creators on there. We need journalists on there, members of the fourth estate, you know. We need civil society on there.
So multifaceted.
Yes, multifaceted kind of stakeholder engagement, so that everyone is up giving their thoughts and what they feel about how they want the online space to be for them and how they envision the online space being safe for them. My other thing, it will be having an oversight body. Just for like the way we have the data protection, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner, if we can have an independent body. We don't want it to be domiciled under, we don't want anything under the government. You understand? Yeah. We don't want political interference. I would call it political quote-unquote interference. Yeah. We want an independent oversight body that will make sure that there's compliance by these companies, social media companies, and will make sure that the policies are being adopted through and through on social media, you know. Everyone is benefiting from this. And we need also clear legal definition of some of these social media terms. When you tell people hate speech, kuna mtu mwenye ako mahali na ajui hate speech inamaanisha nini. Yeah, when you tell people words, what do we say? Words like fake news, they don't really understand what fake news is. We don't want this to be a space where politicians or it will be like these words are used for political misuse. When someone uses them and then now their content is pulled down, we don't want it to turn into a political kind of misuse. We want a clear definition of these terms to tell us, okay, this is what it means, and this is how we're going to address it.
And that looks like it would be a good policy. Melinda for MP.
Oh, how you wish.
How you wish. Anyway, let's finish off this discussion with the balance between responsibility of the citizenry and of the social media users who are being regulated or their content being moderated, and because they need to express themselves. So there's freedom of speech, and then there is regulating harmful and hateful content. How do we strike that balance? And this is a question that touches on the responsibility of the user of these platforms. Because even apart from political action or political activism, we see a lot of harmful content. We see a lot of slander, hate that is being spread, etc., etc. How do you balance between the responsibility of the user and regulation from government or even from the social media platforms themselves?
Okay, I would say the balance is between democratic discourse and actual hateful or hate speech, or actually misinformation, disinformation.
Melinda
like this.
Kisungu. Hey. Umeleta Rusungu TECHOVER.
Anyway. Yeah, okay. So, okay, just to like I would say we can strike the balance of what exactly is democratic discourse or political discourse in this sense. Because not every post, one thing is not every post needs to be pulled down. There are ways we can create counter narratives depending on something that was actually said. Not every post people need to, kila mtu akiona hii post, or I would say leaders, I would say maybe leaders, yeah, most of them maybe global leaders or our own local leaders, when they see something that is false, there are ways you can, to counter it, you know. And then there are also mechanisms of pulling down posts. Allow people to know, like I said, allow people to know why their post was pulled down, who pulled it down, and allow them to appeal and make an appeal to say, I want this post back up. Because I'm quite sure, because I've seen a post, one of my posts on Instagram, I was pulled down a couple of I'd say months back, yes, but I didn't have like a way to actually appeal, you know, and actually say that I want to appeal my post to be put back on. We need that chance for people to say my post was not this, because like I said, there's always the argument of kuelewa nini imeandikwa hapo. There's one thing I'll tell you, there's a way you will interpret it, and there's a way I'll interpret it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Melinda Kirwa. Now I see why we should have had you on this show a bit earlier than having you now in season 3. Thank you so much. We proceed on a short break. That was a discussion with Melinda Kirwa on regulating social media as proposed by CS for ICT Kabogo. But before we go on this break, I'd like to remind you that the Nation Digital Summit is going down on the 19th to the 21st of February this year in Diani Ukunda. Please reach out to us at Nation Media Group so that you know how to participate. That said, let's go on the short break. We'll be back with more. Don't go too far. Welcome back to TECHOVER, Africa's greatest tech conversation and show. Valentine's is coming. Let me tell you, this song has been here, how long? About 5 years or so. Valentine's is coming. But I know you don't have someone to take you on Valentine's. I'm kidding. Let me get professional. On this week's Startup of the Week, we have a young innovator who's come up with an application that is linking up people who do not have Valentine dates. Yes, correct. And we had to bring it to you at this time so that before you go out there and feel lonely, you can have someone to take you out on Valentine's. So this is your innovator this week. Ladies and gentlemen, Startup of the Week is now airing with this story of the Valentine's application. It's the Valentine's season. Love is in the air. Towns and cities painted red. While people get cozy and get partners to be their Valentines, others are struggling to even get a text back. This season's possible loneliness and lack of love makes people crave companionship, a problem that Idris Kulubi is seeking to solve with his new innovation, StratSpace, a date-matching application that allows Kenyans to pair up.
The inspiration behind it was like I was playing around with AI to find a way, like if AI can understand my request and be able to match me with someone who had the same request. So that's why I did it. Then after some time, I thought like, why not make it into an application? Then after making it an application, I shared with my friend. Then he sent to our class group. Then from there, the requests were too much because all the people in the school flooded it.
It took him just 2 days to put the app together, and he called it StratSpace because it emanated from his university, Strathmore.
So currently, there are 6,500. Most of them, Most of them? All of them are students. So for now, all the Strathmore students, because they are not that number, then other universities also joined. Yeah. The percentage that I've seen, most men compared to ladies, but it's like 60 to 40.
Idris enters a tight competitive market with previous players and pioneers who have bigger names and a wider reach. Just what makes StratSpace stand out?
I think the unique things is the matching algorithm, because I was I took my time to develop it, but it was not basically for the app itself, because for the matchmaking, it's an idea that just came on Tuesday for just trying to play around with things, but the matchmaking algorithm, I was working on it since long time ago, so that's the best thing. And also the interface is user-friendly, and also the messaging and the text is just like, I wasn't too official on anything. It was just like simple words, like I was just talking to your friend. I think the difference is for Tinder, Bumble, even though I've not used it, but what I've been hearing is most of them are flooded by, let's say, people old age, like say past 30, past 40. But this one, it was now for the students, because I remember the first time when it went to the school, it was like in 30 minutes, so I was sent a request like, your resources are being used up. Then I was like, I'm not using any app. Then after checking, there were like 300 people in the same time, in that same minute, so it was crazy. And I think what attracts many students is for the students and for the university students, so they just find your peer students who are there.
So just what is his business model?
I'm planning on making like premium, adding premium features. Also another thing is engaging with brand deals, because in Kenya, people with brands, that their target audience is students, because I have all of them right now, so it will be the best platform to use.
The success of his innovation surprises him, much as he didn't expect it to have such traction. Idris tells fellow young innovators to just put their ideas to action with the least resources available.
What I will tell them is, when you have an idea, don't think too much about implementing it. You should just start, because you never know what's going to happen. But for me, like, I had other projects, like more than 100, which I was doing, but remember, this is the one that had gotten the traction. And the funny thing is that it's the one I did in 2 days. The others that I was staying for like, I was staying for like a month, 2 months, didn't get that much traction. So whenever you have an idea, just create it. Just create it. Yeah.
And that's our startup this week. I've said severally, I'll keep saying it here, Kenyans never cease to amaze me. So yes, there you go. Please, usikose mtu. Usikose mtu. Anyway, let's finish up with the tech tip of the week, and then we'll close the show at that point.
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's tech tip of the week. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a quick tip which will help you get rid of those annoying pop-up ads which usually appear on your phone. So the first thing you need to do is go to your phone settings, and then you need to go to connectivity options, or a similar setting on your phone, which will help you find the private DNS setting, this one right here. And then choose private DNS provider hostname, and then under custom name, write dns.adguard.com, then click save. Once you do this, this is going to help you get rid of most of the annoying ads which usually appear on your phone. That's it for this week. See you in the next one.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, and lovers of TECHOVER, I want to remind you that Nation Digital Summit is happening between the 19th and the 21st of February this year in Diani, Ukunda. Please come through, you don't want to miss that. But before I let you go, allow me to ask Melinda to encourage a lady in tech out there. Melinda, here's your chance. Proceed.
Oh my God, yes. Thank you for this chance. If you are a lady in tech out there, just start doing it. Whatever that idea you have in your mind, start executing it now. I'll tell you for free, when I was starting out as a journalist in the tech space, I used to be in a room full of men, and I used to wonder, wow, where are the ladies? And now we're actually being told that we don't have women who actually talk strongly about technology and actually debunk the whole idea. Debunking simply means to simplify what technology is and it's all about. So I would say, do not limit yourself too much. And then also, those opportunities are there for women. Grab those opportunities, run with them. If you can join communities for women, because I've interacted with so many women who have come up with communities to link other women in the tech space. If you can join those communities, join them. Go be with them. If they have engaging events, participate in actually these tech events, because for women, we are sometimes people like saying this is a very funny. I actually even adopt it, by the way. We might be our own enemies, but at the end of the day, it's only us who can help us. You know, it's only us who can help us. Even though so we are our own enemies, nisi peke yetu tutashikana tu mkono and we encourage each other. We're a sister for sister. So I would say those opportunities, take them, run with them, you know. And then also if you get a chance to break that glass ceiling, break it and hit the sky rocket. Like you go, the Elon Musk rockets kind of way. Run, yes, go with it. Yes, go with it. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Yeah.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you for having me.
I should have had you here earlier.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I hope I'm going to be here on another session.
Sure thing.
Please.
Of course, I got you.
Right.
That's where we end it. Thank you. Watch Takeover next week, same place, same time. And please come to Nation Digital Summit. I'm Brian Jojotino, my tech lead forever, and stay techie.